give the invocation, please?
I will. Dear Lord, thank you for this day, and thank you for bringing us all here safely, and we ask for travel graces on the way home. I ask for your help with all those who are suffering from illness or loss of a loved one, and ask also for your help for all of us through this pandemic. We ask this in your name. All blessings. Amen.
Amen.
Kelly, could you do the roll call?
Sir. Shinba,
Here.
Charlie Buzzard.
Here.
Keith Austin.
Here.
Joe Bird.
On in.
Julie Coates.
Here.
Sean Crittenden.
Honey.
Joe Deere.
Aye.
Mike Robbins.
Here.
Hayden Dudgeon.
Honey.
Rex Jordan. Carol Legg.
Here.
Wes Delmeyer.
Honey.
Laura Petzkowski.
Here.
Mary Baker Shaw.
Honey.
William Smith.
Here.
Denise Taylor. Ray Swift.
Honey.
We have a quorum.
You've had a chance to look over the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
Aye.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, let's start with our reports. Marcia, are you on? Marcia? Oh, there she is.
Is that Marcia?
Yep, that's Marcia. Marcia, well, no.
Shapeshifter.
Marcia, can you hear me?
Well, you come, Marcia.
Marcia, can you hear me? We can see you, Marcia. You look more like
She knows we're gonna ask about that $400, man.
Technical difficulty
Yeah, let's
today.
play like straight here now. Marcia, are you there? You what?
I'm calling her.
Okay.
Hey, we can see you, but we can't hear
Kinda like had a walk-in room with underwear, wasn't it?
you. Now call.
Can you hear me, Marcia?
Can you hear everyone? Okay. Okay. Todd's in there trying to get her connected.
Who is who?
She won't need a mask.
Do you want to come back to her? Or you want to wait?
Go to the next one. Come back to Marcia.
Yeah.
Okay. Michael Lynn, are you on the phone? Are you up there? Whatever you're on. Michael Lynn?
Probably gonna get some time.
Yeah, he did. He's probably in his underwear. Michael Lynn,
Where is everybody?
Anybody?
this is going to be a quick meeting. Yeah, maybe we might just sit here and watch.
No
Marcia.
Gary Cooper's on.
Yep. All right. Well, let's try Gary. Gary Cooper, are you on?
Hey, they're ready for me.
Maybe we're the ones who are.
Yeah.
We'll call you. Okay, they're saying they can't hear anything.
Can anybody hear me?
Anybody out there?
Yeah, besides Keith.
Old girlfriend.
Well,
Okay, come in now.
Announcements coming up.
yep. It's Tara Lee. We'll have to ask all our questions of Tara Lee.
I think he sponsors.
You know Daryl does.
Can I read that?
You ever watch Now Here's?
Everybody try to be patient while we have technical difficulties.
So you gonna read it? You gonna?
Yeah. Can anybody hear me up there?
They're gonna have to start showing up in person if they can't work the computer.
I think it's on our end.
It's on our end.
They call it
a good way someone to break up with you if this is your companion.
They had that on her
Where
phone.
were the other meetings?
Hello, can anybody hear me?
Time it rang,
All the
it
boys, they start screaming.
Yeah. They're gonna be pretty
was
tough.
like, I see you, 1980s.
No, no,
It'll be them and buy-in. I think buy-in's gonna be tough too.
no. Fast.
Yeah.
Can anybody hear me?
Hello?
Canaan, this is Bravo 1 to Bravo 2.
One out of 12, one out of 12.
Eric, can you hear me?
Marcia,
Bring her in.
see her again.
Bring her in.
Ray Price.
She knows there's a bunch of people from Marcia.
Bring her in. Yeah, bring her in, absolutely. Just pick her up, can you bring her in, I guess? Well, if we can't, we can't. I mean, there's, what can we do? Sure. Yep. Yep. It is what it is.
Yeah, we've been working all day.
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you think it's on our end, Shelley?
I don't know, because it's worked all day long.
Yeah.
For all the other meetings, it's oddly
Gary
it's not
just
there.
texted me and he said,
But it's strange that it would be for all of them, right?
Oh, okay.
Because Counselor Coates always has problems, but
With it connected. Hey, Marcia, I think that's in
they
California.
want you to come down.
The bandwidth. Yeah, she said it there's 20 people on it.
Come on down, and I'll have the girls let you in.
Marcia, can you hear me?
She's on her way. She said, so I can still see her.
All right.
Bring us some My Heat blankets.
Being hard a day goes by, they don't give a
If you'll be patient, Marcia Lamb is making her way to the council room.
every damn day. Sounds
So Michael and Julia here?
You get it, get one.
You would, but you wanted the roll call.
I'm sorry?
Sometimes that witness.
she sure did, and
Must be on our end then. Yeah, you're right there, Jerry, pick it up.
I didn't know they were that way. I need to make a comment.
I get
Out
drunk.
there in there. Yeah.
I think that you would think they would be the friendliest there.
Do they got both times?
Would you do thighs?
See, I say something about they think I'm married because this is the girl that's married.
Gary said,
I give her take that off that night because that's serious. But she was bitter.
But somebody else.
Thanks for using WebEx. Visit our website at www.webex.com.
I've been able to. But Corey says he's lost.
Did you watch LeBron's other night?
Corey can hear us?
Did you watch LeBron?
Fire up, and I can
I
put
know.
wood chips, soak wood chips in the bottom.
Wasn't interesting.
No, it just didn't get my attention. Cleveland Browns, they're 4-1.
She's working.
So they can see, but they just can't hear?
Well, I watched basketball.
The three of them?
So just do sign language, just conduct the meeting in sign language.
All thing we can do with Marcia is this.
Yeah, you gotta leave the water about 30
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah, that's it.
And then you throw them in there, you talk about some smoke,
Harsh like a.
like a mosquito.
Welcome to WebEx. Enter your access code or meeting number followed by pound.
Just point, huh?
Everybody hear me?
Enter your attendee ID number followed by pound. If you do not know your attending number, press pound to continue.
Yep.
So they said, put
He's here now. He just did
Yep,
it.
Marcia's here. We'll do
public.
human services.
Wow.
All right, let's do what? You need any more time? Are you good? All right, we're gonna go ahead and let Marcia talk. All right, we got Marcia Lamb here with Human Services. Marcia, thank you for coming.
I'm sorry.
Can you hear me, Marcia?
I'm still having video problems.
They've got microphones
That's
on.
what you call lack of communication.
Yep.
We get her here in person, we still
Yep.
can't hear.
Marcia, give us a report. Well, you have anything to say today?
Well, I know there's been a lot of requests from, about our elder program, and I want you to know that I am bringing in 8 more staff to help with this. So, all I can tell you is to be patient. Everybody wants to know if they're on there, and I would too if I was on the other end. And we will do the best we can, but I think bringing what we have now and bringing in these other 2 will speed things along. And that's about all I have. If you have any other specific questions.
Does anybody have any? Sean?
Yeah, Marcia, of course, we're getting a lot of the, and I know you're seeing them all, the 150 extra, where they got the tech money, and they got 150 for clothes, but they was actually under income. Is that coming along pretty good, the cases where
We've had a few, but most of them can be answered because it's not in the degree of the elder program. So we're kind of coming to the end on that. That hit us first, and but this elder program is a little bit bigger.
Right, yeah, so just keep sending that 150 in. The ones that's lacking that, just keep sending the names in. And, Chief of Staff, have you guys thought about maybe a public announcement just to update the folks? I mean, might cut a little bit of, because every one of them I get, I send to you. And if just a public announcement, Facebook wise or something.
Yeah, we will get a statement out this week on, and we'll probably do 2 separate announcements, one for educational assistance and the others for elder assistance. Based on some of the data I looked at, we had roughly 50,000 kids that signed up for the education assistance, and we're down to about 1,200. And then that I can see so far. Some of those are going to be duplicates. And so, I think with that, we're on the path that need to be processed, cleaned up, and finalized for the tuition assistance and technology assistance for the kids. On the elders, I was explaining to Councilor Austin on the break that what we're seeing a lot with our elders are minor changes for addresses. And we do have some duplication of submissions, but not near to the level that we saw with our student submissions. I cleaned up about 15 or 20 personally this morning, and a lot of them were just, they had a street address and they had the correct state and zip code, but they got off on the city somehow or another. Some of them are abbreviation errors with the U.S. Postal Service wouldn't deliver to that address. So they're just little minor cleanup things. We did try to use a address verification system that would clean up that data, and it does a pretty good job about 80% of the time, and about 20% of the time it says, I don't know what to do with this address. So with that additional staff, that's why we're hoping we can work through this a little bit quicker, because they're still having to deal with normal day-to-day operations of people coming in and requesting assistance for a variety of needs, and we're doing that with about 50% of their normal capacity of what they would normally operate those on. So we will get something out generally to let people know this is what's going on and kind of where we are in the process.
I think it might do it just one more, hey guys, we're here. And
Yep.
now the 1,200, that's a separate thing, not necessarily have went to the utility department yet. All of them, right?
That 1,200 is actually for the education.
That's
So-
through the education,
Yeah,
going to the utility.
For elders, we processed, and I'm trying to remember the numbers off the top of my head, about 23,000 out of the 30,000. We had about 1,200 that had minor issues with their address that we can quickly correct. And then of that, it was about 5,700 remaining. Of those 5,700, they were either duplicate submissions they had a bad CO number, or one that we couldn't verify, or their date of birth was incorrect, or we had some people that put their name in as George.
Yeah.
And so those kinds of
I know
things,
him.
that physically got to go through and touch and figure out and call that citizen and say, hey, can you let us know what you're trying to submit?
I didn't word that question right, Todd. What I was wondering about is the elders are getting 400,
Correct.
but the $1,200 that's going to the utility department,
Yes.
has that went out yet?
Not yet, I don't think.
Somehow.
Not in bulk.
Actually, some of them have.
Yeah,
Okay.
the light heat people.
The LIHEAP, yes.
Yeah. And I haven't touched any part of that. That's
Okay.
Marshall's group there. So I didn't think they had gone out just yet, so.
And if they hadn't gone out, they'd be short.
Yeah.
That's kind of more cut and dried, kinda. But you gotta know what utility department they use, I guess, right?
Correct. And we've got a system set up so that our internal staff mark them, review them, so it's a two-step process, so they will mark them that they've been reviewed, and if they're recommended for processing or not, and then if they're in the utility company that's associated with it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody
I
else?
might add to that is if you have a correction, like Todd said, then that takes an extra time. It's just not, yes, you're on there, we're okay. It's calling them back, trying to find out that they're the correct person. So it takes time. So we're not doing as many as we would hope to. So another problem is the system might show up to be their middle name and last name, or their first name and middle name, and not their last name. So, along with all the other things, and I just say that these elders are about as IT smart as I am, because I mess up things. Nobody wants me to touch this, believe me. And so I'm leaving it to the experts that I have that can go through this just as fast as we can.
Well, I know you are, and they don't, nobody knew this was coming. You didn't have a perfect process. It's just a good thing. They're gonna get their money.
Yes, it's a wonderful
So I
thing.
appreciate what y'all are doing.
Yeah.
Harley?
It's Marcia, or Chief of Staff. I sent I don't know if I emailed you or not, Marcia, about the donated food warehouse in Jay. We've had, this has been an ongoing problem, but some of our citizens are waiting from 4 to 5 hours to pick up food. And it's going to be getting cold. It was hot, and now it's cooled off, but
No.
is there anything that we can do to speed it up?
2.5 to 3.5.
Gotta be something.
We're looking at that. That's just a high volume area, and it's with limited staff. We've tried it different ways. We've tried it by alternating lunch hours. Well, the food distribution staff is pretty dedicated, so a lot of times they wouldn't take their lunch hour. They'd just keep working through. Well, that's not good, because then they get overly tired and irritated. So we went back to taking a lunch hour, and we tried appointments, which we're still doing, but working with poverty level people and people in rural areas, they don't always have a good transportation. So when they get a ride, they come in whether it's their appointment or not, and that sets everybody back. So it's just a combination of things, but we're working on a lot of this. So give us some time.
Because I know I checked with 2 or 3 families, and these are elderly people up there, and they've been there for 5 hours.
I know.
And they said they couldn't afford to drive back to North of Grove and come back again, and they were afraid they were going to get cut out.
Yeah.
Because they were going to close at 4 o'clock, and then they'll tell you everything, you know, that they'll tell you that, well, they took off for lunch for an hour, so we're set back an hour.
Yeah.
So I don't know, if you just check into it, your chief of staff, to see if
Yeah, we will.
we could do that, or something to get worked out.
And I did make that commitment during this last meeting, and I did reach out to Leah, and she said that they've been trying some different things, and I still need to sit down and work through some of the processes and see if I can come up with any recommendations. Two things I do want to note is, Marcia, I'm going to need your cell phone. I don't want you touching it. And then second is, I've been over to this food distribution warehouse where we've taken in our refrigerated products that we were getting in from the food box program, and that team is dedicated. They're there, and if you come out in the afternoon, you're going to hear them bark out number 63. That means the 63rd car that they've served that day, or 63rd family that they've served that day. And I've listened to them get up into the 80s and 90s on days. So they are trying to work through it, but we'll see if there's any additional processes we can to help make that process faster, and I will focus intently on that area as a first step.
Can I have myself? Thank you.
Okay, if I might add to that, I have been out to that food distribution place 4 or 5 times for the last several months. And personally, I think the problem is, they are dedicated, but whenever you only have 2 people to go get food for people, you have 2 people getting food and you have 7 or 8 people waiting to get their food, got. So it's a personnel issue. They need more personnel. They have 2 cashiers and they have 2 people getting food. So until that changes, nothing is going to change. I'm just saying there has to be more people to service more people to speed it up.
Yeah, and
That's it.
We might be able to shift some resources to help address that.
I don't know how else you would fix that, other than add more people.
Yeah.
Okay.
EO?
Well, especially like on Thursdays, when they get their trucks in, and that's a 3-person job unloading those trucks. And so we're taking almost the whole warehouse to unload the truck. That's the way the system has to be done. But if somebody comes out there on a cat's bus or something, they get off, they're standing outside for 2 to 3 hours. I had a lady call the other day and said she'd been out there 4 hours at Sallisaw. But the crew was working. It was a truck day, and there's nothing to do. It's just there's not enough manpower because people were working. It wasn't the fact that they were not working. It's just they just overworked, and their morale is getting down because every day they're getting beat down. So we need to give them some help, and it's going to get cold, and when they get off that bus, and half of them don't have heaters to begin with when they get there. So,
well, if I'm being honest, this weekend was a very hard weekend for me. It's been going on since February 1st of March, and you get 100 emails wanting to know where an elder check is, and then you get text messages and phone calls, and it wears on you. You don't see end in sight, and I know our citizens feel that same way, and so it's tough on our staff because we've been doing this for a long time, and it just seems like some days there's not an end in sight, and it doesn't matter how hard you swim, the wave just gets a little higher the next week, and so but we're Cherokees, and that's what I had to resolve. And I was thinking, our ancestors went through a lot worse than this on the trail, and they got up every morning and they managed to kick themselves in the rear and took care of them. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to figure this out, and we'll keep forging ahead.
Daryl?
So I know Career Services received that grant and it's for COVID related where we could place people. It's not day work, but I mean, we could place regular people there for about a year. Don't have to be 4 months, and because I know day work's kind of a issue with getting them in there, trying to train them while you're still trying to work and trying to wonder if they're even going to be there tomorrow. But man, if we could sign up some of them and put them on that program, then they'll be more solid.
We have several people on those programs at these sites.
I mean, just get more even if we need them.
Yeah.
Unless it's gonna be some more that's,
Jackie England, who works with
Yeah.
Diane, both of them been great about
Good deal.
making good referrals of some really strong employees that have already passed background checks, they've already passed
right.
motor vehicle records, background checks, and so that's been a great program to help us kickstart several things, and that's how we're trying to supplement some of the staffing patterns.
I mean,
Yeah.
the other day when I was down there though, trucks come in fruit trucks come in on Tuesday at Salisaw. Well, that takes an hour to unload right there. But there's no extra help down there. And they have to close at 4 to balance every day. That's a federal deal. They have to balance every day or they can't open the next day. But, we gotta get some help down there to them somehow.
There's a lot of people in need.
Right now, there's no program workers of any kind down there helping.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you.
You want, Sean?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, Todd, how would that correlate? I think we talked about this before, but kind of like all of our food giveaways. Well, that goes pretty, and I know it's different. I know there's some paperwork, but I mean, everybody here's done it. Everybody here's been shorthanded. Me and Payne and Chris one night, wasn't it? But I know it's not the same, but when we getting that flow, we get everybody, and there's lots of cars. I see you guys all doing it too, but is there some way to do it like that, or?
Well, that's one of the things I would like to dig into a little bit more. When we do the drive-through, it's pretty much a box based on this quota. And with food distribution, dependent upon the family size and the needs in there, they have to go cherry pick those items that are supposed to go in there. So
they make a special order?
Yeah.
You get options.
Yeah.
Wonder, it's just throwing stuff out there, but wonder through this pandemic and just, would it be even legal?
One of the things we're doing is doing some emergency hires in that area. So
I don't
we're
even know if
getting
it'd
those
be-
processed.
It'd even be legal to just have it, all right, folks, you're not gonna wait 3 or 4 hours, but you're also just gonna get this nutritionist bunch of boxes of food fast. And then when this is over, you can start ordering what you want type deal, but I don't know, just ideas.
Right.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Wes?
On our, how many in our ICW do we have caseworkers? How many caseworkers do we have in ICW?
I'm sorry?
How many caseworkers do we have at ICW?
Caseworkers?
Yeah.
You're talking about face-to-face.
Yeah, that are dealing with her, that are assigned to our kids.
I don't have that number right in front of me, but I can get it to you.
Okay. And then the other thing I was noticing is that we are having a lot more homes closed on our foster adoptive homes than we're having opened. It's like it's dwindling down to where, we're having more homes closed and actually having fewer homes open.
Well, probably since that report, we have added staff and we have been looking into other ways we can do some, increase our foster homes, so.
Okay. And then I noticed like the number one cause of all of our problems that we're having over there is neglect. Do we have programs set up that are specifically to kind of educate our families that are in situations to where they could improve their parenting? They might get, turned in for neglect. Is there certain areas that maybe are identified or more kind of hot spots for neglect than others?
You mean increase that process?
Well, I mean, just for instance, you got different communities and areas that have a higher poverty rate. Is that going to be something that's in line with our neglect issues? Is the poverty coinciding with the neglect problems that we're seeing with our ICW kids that are being reported? What?
We can look into that and see how to improve it.
Okay. Yeah, that'd definitely be, it's hard having several questions for ICW without having anybody here to discuss. I mean, it's just one of those things. I know that ICW used to get reports in person, so, we could problem solve, see where else they can go, and especially now, it seems like we left without a little bit in the dark of what's going on over there. Or maybe be wise at some point to have just a quarterly report from our ICW caseworker or director over there, so that way we could get some of these questions answered in person. So, anyways, all right, that's all I had.
Thank you for that feedback.
Anybody else have any questions for Marcia?
That it?
Just really quick. Go ahead, you.
You said you was getting 8 new people. Will they be answering the phone? Those 8 new people?
I'm
Getting
sorry.
help, or will they be answering the phone?
The whole goal of ICW.
Will they be answered?
On the elders thing?
Yeah,
Elders.
what we do is, we look for the name, and then we call that person to verify that that's the person by asking what their date of birth is and their address and everything. And if everything coincides, then what we will do is say, yes, you're on that list. If there's a problem, then we do the same thing. So we ask them questions to make sure it's the right person, and because we don't want to change someone unless it's the right person, so.
So, let me take a shot at answering that question. So, we're having to work these applications in 2 different ways. One is we're being proactive, and we're calling people and working down a list and saying, hey, we haven't been able to process your information, we're gonna call you. And then the ones that are calling in, we have several people in what we call a hunt group, and in that hunt group, it says, hey, ring these numbers, whoever answers it, and then they can take that phone call. So once we get those employees on board and engaged, then they will be included in that hunt group. So we'll just add to that group or pool of people that will be answering the phone calls. And so you call one number and it rings 6, 8, 10 people, and then whoever answers that call first. And Counselor Austin gave me some feedback that we're not responding to emails timely, and so I'm going to go back and double check with the staff to make sure that they are responding back to those. So we have a shared inbox, and what that shared inbox would, if I emailed council@cherokee.org, if we had it set up as a pooled account, everybody in this group could click on that email, and it would, once you click on it, it marks it as read in everybody else's inbox. And then if you delete it, it deletes it out of everybody's inbox. And if you reply to it, everybody can see. That way they can work as a collective to try and answer those questions. So I'll double check to make sure that we're responding back to those emails on a timely basis as well.
Sean?
We're trying to set the IT systems up to be supportive and have a collective of a group instead of calling one person. You're hitting 7, 8, 10 people.
Go ahead, Sean.
Oh, just back to ICW. Lou Stretch, she's still the girl. Does she have like a assistant, a deputy, or? No, okay.
I mean, she has people that can
She has
help
two
her,
or
help her
three
with
that
it, you know.
And I, chair and speaker, I would be interested in someone that could present to us about the ins and outs, and I don't know if it's the area we live in or if the different, but I do get lots of calls, and understandably, you know, they can't give me legal, there's a bunch of legal stuff that goes with it, but just some initial questions. And that'd be, if everybody agrees with that one, how it work, but I would like someone to report pretty often.
Good idea.
Sean, one of the things we're doing is a reorg where she will have a second in command, so.
Okay. Yeah,
All right.
appreciate it.
Marcia, could you make that happen? Have them have ICW, what, quarterly
Boy,
or more?
Quarterly be good.
Quarterly? We could do that, that would,
is that one time a year?
That's 4 times a year.
Times a year?
You don't matter.
Hey,
Hey,
wait, 4 times a year?
yeah.
Quarterly.
Yeah, once every 3
Better than what we're
months.
getting now.
Now, I don't think it's enough in my area. 50 cents worth would be good my way. I mean, really, that way I get lots of calls, and it just goes through one person, and if we can get some of them answered here.
Actually, I think probably every other month
Yeah,
would probably work. Because that is an important thing, and it is, especially with McGirt and what's coming up, it's going to be very,
Yep.
so. But we have a council meeting at 5, and I'm not rushing anybody, and I'm not going to cut anybody off. If you have anything to say, go ahead. But I just wanted to say that I understand, and I'm not griping about service or anything like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, there's like around 22,000 people put in for the $400, around that, right?
30,000.
30,000 people, and how many for the 12, 7 or 10?
About 5,000.
Okay, well, and we're kind of uncharted territory, and
Yeah.
and it is, but it's a good thing, and we learn from what we didn't know, just like everything else with this COVID deal. But I have 136 people that have called me since Friday, some as late as midnight. So I understand about the burning the late oil, because I never in my life thought I would get 136 phone calls. But I need to give these to you today, Marcia. And the gist of everything is they just don't know. They just want to know if they're going to get it. If they are, it's not so much the timetable, just that they are. And, if we can do that, I'll be willing to tell them that they're good. I can help you out. I'd be willing to do that. But just saying.
We can also make that announcement, can't we, Todd, and let people see that the ones that are qualified, these checks are coming.
Yes.
They need to hear something like that.
Yeah, and what we can do is communicate directly back with, I'm a little bit hesitant in doing that, but we can at least email. And here's the reason that I'm hesitant, is to email back and say, E.O. Smith, you filed for application, we've received your information, we're processing it, just wanted to let you know we're having to make some corrections.
Okay.
EO may not have submitted that email address. Counselor Shaw may have helped Counselor Smith with his application, and she included her email address, so she may get communication back regarding Counselor Smith's application. So, but we can at least, without divulging too much personal information, and going back and forth with them, we can at least directly communicate to those email addresses that we have to say, we're processing your application, there's just a few items, and we can communicate directly with those. Not everybody gave us an email address, but for the ones, we will do that. I can't submit too much personal information in those. So.
Well, I know out of these 136, a quarter of them have care of, because they filled out the paperwork for these people who were not able to fill it out on a computer. So their contact information is there.
Yeah.
So everything's here.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else got anything for Marcia?
If I could add one thing real quick.
Yes, sir.
Councilor Nofire's question about education systems. So years ago, we did a study under Harlem Children's Zone. And Jeffrey Canada is the gentleman that created the Harlem Children's Zone. And he wanted to change the Harlem community by changing the education system. And so he focused on kindergarten through college, and that was his priority. And then he realized we're not hitting them soon enough. And so he was finding first-time pregnant moms out on the street and getting them to come to parenting classes. And so he's transformed the Harlem community. And so we've done an understudy of that years ago. And I actually went and met Jeffrey Canada along with 4 or 5 other employees to find out what things that we can do. And so I'll work on that and see what we can come up with to make sure. But I know Head Start, WIC, they do different parenting classes, engagement things to try and help educate our parents and make sure that they know exactly how they should be taking care of the kids. And if they have questions, it's a safe place to come ask questions.
Yeah.
But I'll make sure that we have a concerted effort on addressing those things to keep our ICW staff from having to address some of these
If
things.
there's any way I could be involved in that too, if there's any chance I could be involved in that too, I'd love to. I know, we've had a couple kids up here at Hastings and talking with some doctors and some OBG doctors that do delivery, and they recognize the mothers that come in too, if there's not a birth dad there, or if there's something that's recognizable, probably that what he spoke on too in the book that you had that we read. And maybe that may not be a way to start implementing with mothers before they're even having birthed a child, so that way we can help educate everybody, and I think everybody wants to see our communities. We have some, impoverished areas, and would like to see them thrive, and want to do everything we can. And I appreciate you guys. And I think that's a great idea. So I really appreciate you speaking to that. So, yeah, great.
Okay. Marcia, thank you. I'll get this list to you today. Michael Lynn, are you there?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I will keep this brief. I was kind of not sure you'd be able to see my smiling face today for a little bit, but I think they finally got it all worked out. Real quickly on the water and sanitation side, we've been working with administration and the treasurer's office to submit projects for both water and wastewater using the COVID relief funds. So far, we've submitted 17 projects for a total of a little over 1.3 million that I think we're going to be able to utilize some of the COVID relief funds for. On the transportation side, just to kind of touch on some of our active road projects, Bell School Road and Bridges, that project is wrapping up. I think they were waiting on some guardrail, which may have been completed today, but that project is wrapping up. And on the Northeast Fort Gibson project, runs between Muskogee and Cherokee County, it's probably 70 to 80% complete. There's still a section of road out there on what we call Rocky Top Road that is still waiting to be completed. The rest of it's got rock base on all of it. Wybuck Road in Craig County is one of our newer projects, around 10 to 20% complete, but it is progressing very well. Dwight Mission Road in Hawaii County, probably around 30% complete. And again, it's progressing very well. And lastly, Mr. Chair, I mentioned the Chimney Rock Road in Mays County is open bids on that here recently, and we're waiting for an award to be made. And as soon as that award has been made, I'll make that announcement next committee meeting. So with that, that's all I have to report. You do have our written report. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
You have any questions for Michael? Anybody? Mary?
I have one. Michael, in our Cherokee transit system, I'd like to inquire, we had 438 rides from Pryor to Catoosa, and from Tahlequah to Catoosa, there was 140. Where are they going to in Catoosa?
Hard Rock.
Hard Rock. Okay, that's what I wanted to know. For some reason, I had it in mind that most of these were health-related.
No, that is an employment route, and they are going to the Hard Rock.
Okay, so most of these are employees?
Yes.
Yes.
Good, thank you.
Anybody else for Michael? Anybody else have, or Mike, you have anything, any comments on the road issues, or anybody have any comments on road issues for Michael? All right, Michael, good report. Thank you, sir. Gary, are you on?
I'm on. Hopefully you can hear me now. I can hear you fine.
We can hear you. We can even see you.
All right. I know you all have got to go, so I'm going to keep mine just short and sweet. We just continue to work on a lot of different projects as best we can, taking care of emergency issues and things of that nature. I know several of you I've talked to in the last month about different issues that you've had arise, constituents that need assistance. So continue to take care of those. If you have any come up, just know. Other than that, you have our report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Gary? Wes?
Hey Gary, just a quick question. I know I had mentioned it to Erna, was here one time giving a report whenever you were gone. We talked about the housing and rehab to try to catch everything up to speed on our backlog of our housing rehab. And we had talked about maybe having a percentage of where we're at on those. As far as are we 10% caught up, 20% caught up, 30% caught up on that there? I didn't know if she'd followed up with you. It's been some time back.
No, but also I caught about every fifth word there. There was some I'll back up with you to see exactly what it is that we need to do. Now, I heard rehab in there. As far as rehab goes right now, if the home is occupied, we are not going in unless it is an emergency situation.
Right.
We will, any exterior work, but, at the top of the list are elderly, handicapped, and disabled folks, so they're already in a high-risk category. And I must say, unless there's an emergency that needs to be addressed, we're staying out of the inside to try to keep them as safe as possible. There are a few rehabs that we are doing that we'll continue to do whenever we can relocate the family if they have maybe a member to stay with, or if we can find a place to put them up with to do. We have done that because we do that on a limited basis anyway. But it is affecting the number that we can do on rehab. We're doing as much as we can. All the outside work, we're knocking out. So all we'll have to do is go back and finish up the inside work. But we're really limited on what we can do on the inside of any unit for rehab.
Okay. Yeah, my question was, and I think you're going to be able to, you already kind of answered it since we're not being able to do a whole lot right now. But in the future, I mentioned to her about having a percentage of how much we are behind on our housing rehab and how much, where we're at and getting caught up. Are we 20% caught up, 30% caught up from our backlog? I think that was all I was asking her, that we could have is some sort of knowledge of where we were when we just started with our program of funding to where we are catching up our backlog. That's all I was looking at.
And we continue to go through and update families and pull them from the waiting list and go ahead and get them certified and everything. So whenever stuff starts getting back to some type of normal, I'm not going to say normal, but at least some type of normalcy, we have a lot that's ready to go. I think now, kind of knowing what you need, I can see what I can come up with for you.
Perfect. Appreciate it, Gary.
Anybody else have any questions for Gary? All right, Gary, good report. Thank you. Anna Knight? Can you hear me, Anna?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, I'll keep it brief too. I did have a little bit of news about the MAP policy. We've changed the MAP policy again and reduced some of the limitations that we had in regards to the maximum price. We did try to keep emphasis on financial education because we know that's very important to people maintaining home ownership. And so the biggest change is probably that everybody will qualify for up to $20,000 if they complete 6 months of financial education. And that can, they would get, if they haven't completed 6 months by the time they're ready to close, they would get $12,500 at closing. And then they would get a $7,500 principal reduction payment once they finish that 6 months total financial education. And they'll have 6 months to do it at the after they close. Now, I'll send you guys a document with the changes that we made to the MAP policies and explain that a little bit more, but they are effective right now. Other than that, I don't really have anything else unless someone has any questions.
Well, that's a great deal, Anna. That is a good deal for people.
It used to be 15.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I was going to just brag on Anna. That's huge news in the fact that, that 6 months of financial literacy was a barrier for a lot of folks of trying to get it done before closing the house.
That's great news.
And realizing that we had some folks that were left out, so to speak. She went back and revisited that policy just recently and opened that up. So it's going to help out a lot of folks that maybe not have had access to it in the past.
Now, the speaker said it used to be 15. It's been moved up to 20. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Anybody have any questions for Anna?
Yeah, I'll send you guys a copy of the new policies with a cover sheet with the outline of the changes. I'll have all those.
All right. Anna, great job. We have no questions. We look forward to getting that document from you, and you have a good evening.
Thank you very much. You
yes,
too.
ma'am. All right. Old business, none pending. New business, none pending. Do I have any announcements? Harley?
Yes, I just want to pass on to this community. And a lot of people in here remember Bill Reed. He was an engineer for the Cherokee Nation probably for 20 years. Bill passed away about 1 month ago. Bill lives in Eufaula, Oklahoma, but Bill was instrumental in a lot of programs here at the Cherokee Nation. Actually, he came over when the Cherokee Nation 638 the program back in 1982. So Bill is a familiar face to a lot of people here, but I just wanted to announce that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Joe?
I just want to announce that we're having our food distribution tonight in Tulsa on Greenwood at Langston University, 5 to 7. Everybody's welcome to come through there. And of course, we have our drink center 9 a.m. to 11 on Friday, and everybody's welcome there as well. That's all. Thank you, Chair.
I'd just like to say thank you to all the councilmen, and that, you know, it's obvious there's a lot of issues in our tribe right now, and the administration has really been forthcoming in trying to help, and you guys have too. You're representing your constituents well. Just like to say thank you. One more.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, all right, and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
We're done.